can I say something quite controversial? I actually wouldn't want to win Lotto.
Because you've already won Lotto when you met me?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Now, I think Lotto's like almost a bit of a curse because like if you win Lotto, you never get to, and this like I'm sure it's not surprising, I'm very action orientated, goals based, all that kind of stuff. $50 million, I never like my future success will all be based off that cash.
Yeah.
Opposed to the person I had to become to achieve goals in the future. And I reckon that would really screw with my head and really impact my motivation and my drive and all that kind of stuff.
Welcome to Checks and Balances, brought to you by Partners Life. I'm Michael Vincent. This is James Blair. And today, what would you do, or what would we do if we won $50 million?
So Mike, Powerball, $50 million went over the weekend.
Yeah.
7 people won it.
Yeah, a little bit disappointing. I'm glad that more people got it, but a little bit disappointing that one person didn't get the whole 50 million quid.
Here's a question for you, which I do hear come up from time to time in the comments section. Do you think one person should win that much money?
Yeah, why not?
Well, people go like that's too much money for one person.
Then they don't understand maths or the maths of the lottery. Yeah. No, absolutely. People should win that much money. Blow it all. Get in there, brother.
So today we're going to talk about for those 7 people and for all those who are going to win the Lotto next time, because pretty much every client tells me they're going to win over the weekend.
It's like the Warriors. Next season's our season.
Yeah.
Next draw's our draw.
Yeah. Surprisingly, apparently it's statistically more likely the Warriors will win the next game than you are to win Lotto.
I don't believe that.
Yeah. So today is we're going to talk about essentially if you win Lotto, what you should do and some tips. And then I'd be keen for those in the comments section to tell us what you would do with Lotto, because it is a bit of a fun game.
Yeah.
Tanner and I would go on a walk and be like, how would we drop 50 mil? You know, how would we split it up? So let me start, Mike, by asking you, what would you do if you won $50 million?
That's a good question. I have thought about this, and I think the short answer is I just wouldn't trust myself with $50 million. I'd just give it to you. I'd probably just be like, okay, Lotto needs to hang on to this, and then just give it to James, and he can drip feed it out to me.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I would buy I don't know, a $50 million ironing board or something, because someone told me it was vintage or antique, and that would be the end of it.
It was actually just a Briscoe's ironing board.
But on Red Dot Sale, famous.
Yeah, I mean, remember the time you spent $100 buying a brick?
2 bricks from Webb's Auction House, and it's art, actually. It was just, they looked more like art on the screen, and when they showed up, they were just 2 bricks, and I was like, damn.
For $100.
These are bricks.
Yeah.
So again, I wouldn't trust myself. I know my faults, most of them, and I wouldn't trust myself.
Look, I don't. Yeah, let's not get started into that discussion. Yeah, I mean, like if you think about $50 million, you put it into an investment, pays 5% a year, $2.5 million a year. Like you're sorted.
Happy days.
You're sorted for the rest of your life, right?
Yeah, which is wild though, because when you think, actually, before I'd go down that road, what would you do with $50 million?
Yeah, it's too much money. It's too much money, and I don't mean. Can I say something quite controversial? I actually wouldn't want to win Lotto.
Because you've already won Lotto when you met me?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Now, I think Lotto's like almost a bit of a curse because like if you win Lotto, you never get to, and this like I'm sure it's not surprising, I'm very action orientated, goals based, all that kind of stuff. $50 million, I never like my future success will all be based off that cash.
Yeah.
Opposed to the person I had to become to achieve goals in the future. And I reckon that would really screw with my head and really impact my motivation and my drive and all that kind of stuff.
So it'd be like, because it was based off that cash instead of your trust fund, it'd be different.
Yeah, for example. And the trust fund's kept about 10. Yeah. And like 10 doesn't really get you anywhere these days. So in all seriousness, if we won $50 million, I reckon a sweet pad and junkie Parnell would look after us. But then once you got a debt-free house, you buy a truckload of investment properties, you throw a bunch of cash into an investment portfolio. Honestly, I would inevitably become a billionaire with that start. Like it would just be time, because you've just got, the saying like your first $100,000 is the hardest to make, and then it's inevitable the next $100,000 would come up.
Yeah, I think the point of you and I as money managers and financial advisors, probably think about it a little bit differently, because if you ask the normal person, what would you do with 50 million? They'll rattle off a series of good decisions, right? It'll be, I'll buy a sweet pad, I'll pay off my parents' debt, I'll give a little bit of cash away to my friends and help them out, and then I'll just, buy a couple of really sweet things, and then I'll manage the money effectively. However, James, that's not what happens.
No, it's not. Just makes me think, on the family side of 50 million, how much would you give away to family?
The funny thing is, my sister has already talked to me about this, and she's like, if I ever won Lotto, I would put it in an account for you and just drip feed it to you. She was
Pay
like,
income.
Yeah, she was like, if I gave you, I don't know, £5 million, you'd die.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, I do agree with her there. She's a smart woman. But there's probably quite a few people in my life that I wouldn't give a lump sum to. I would choose to give them an income instead.
Yeah.
But you are right, for the average person, $50 million might last a while, but if you've never say you've never had $10,000 in your life. There was that study last week from Kiwi Bank saying that a third of Kiwis didn't have $500 in their bank account that could cover emergency costs.
Yeah.
So you think about, a third of those people who could win Lotto straight away don't have more than $500 in their account. We're giving them $50 million. That's a hell of a lot more zeros. Say, like, how many people in their life had more than $10,000 in a bank account? Then you give them $50 million. How are they going to manage it? How are people not going to take advantage of them? All that kind of thing.
I think that's a really important point, is people taking advantage of you is what people don't anticipate. And not to the degree of they're going to come to you and say, because everyone knows that you'll get business opportunities and investment opportunities and this. It's the emotional blackmail from people with the expectation that you've got 50 mil, so you can just hand it out. Mate, you still have 49 million left, so what's a mil, right? I think that's the bit that would be very isolating and make the win very lonely.
I do agree with that. And then everybody suddenly got this great business idea, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean,
it's wild how everyone has great business ideas and no money to get them started.
So I think first thing is, to Mike's point, staying calm, keeping emotions in check, and seeking guidance to make decisions is an incredibly important starting point. On the night you win, you're not going to be going calm. You're not going to be calm. I'm going to be calling my boy Mike. I'm going to be getting the champagne and the jets ready, and we're going to have some fun.
I've already got them ready. Like, wings up in 20. Let's go. Yeah.
But once we go through and have that fun, we've got like this mad hangover the next day. Then we're probably going to start to be like really starting to make some sensible decisions, right?
Yeah, and Lotto themselves, when you win a large sum in lottery, they have a panel of financial advisors who will come out and talk to you about what you should do with the money. That still, though, doesn't always work and doesn't always mean that you make good choices. We've actually done a podcast on this previously a long time ago, when I think it was probably another record jackpot, but it was probably only like $15 or something. That's how old we are.
It was $42 million in Pocono.
42 million in Pocono.
Yeah.
You could buy Pocono with 42 million. No, and then I think it was the stats around it are absolutely crazy, right? Around like how many people end up bankrupt, more likely to be murdered, falling out with their family, completely isolated. It was absolutely astonishing.
Before we move on, we talk all the time about planning and growing our wealth, but protecting that wealth is just as important. That's why having the right insurance in place can help when life goes unexpectedly.
And that's why this episode is brought to you by Partners Life, a New Zealand operated, award-winning insurance provider with over 300,000 Kiwis insured and 89% of claims paid.
Partners Life understand that having some insurance is better than having no insurance. They have flexible and personalized solutions for any budget or situation.
Check out their website in our show notes below.
So I think a really important point, Mike, is about keeping it on the down low. You do not want, we're talking about, emotional manipulation, all these people finding out and then hitting out for help. Keeping it on the down low is, I think, really important. The question is, do you think you could actually keep it on the down low? Do you think there would be, like, I don't know if you've seen any of those memes. Like, I've seen one with like people having like wrestling championships, and they'll be like, I'll keep, if I win Lotto, on the down low, but there will be signs. And it's somebody buying all the wrestling championships. Do you reckon there would be signs that you've won Lotto?
I think there would be signs, but like, I couldn't keep it on the down low forever. My habits would probably still be quite similar. I love traveling. I love going out and eating. Mate, I'm a guy who doesn't like cars. But I reckon I could probably keep it under wrap for maybe 6 to 12 months, and then it would have to trickle out.
Because that's the thing I wonder is like keeping you on the down low, like how realistic is it? And for your family that knows you well, because, there's always one person in the family with a big mouth, and, how do you actually keep it on the down low? But I think to whatever control you can, keeping it on the down low is really important because you don't want that attention, and it comes with a whole amount of risk. The next point, Mike, is building a support team.
Even if you haven't won $50 million, it is important to have a good support team around you, right? And, let's say you had a windfall of 50 million and you thought, I'm going to go out and buy a whole lot of investment properties. They might be bad buys in the wrong part of town, terrible tax treatment. There's a ton of things Do you
know the one that gets me?
What?
Where people go like, oh, my sister's bought this house and the property next door for sale is like, just because something is easy doesn't make it right.
Yeah. Well, even if you think about, I've got 50 million, I've just spent a ton of time on Reddit. Watch me turn it into $1 billion. I'm going to open a Sharesies account. Again, probably a terrible decision to blow it all on A2 milk. So I would say the importance of having a good team around you, around financial advice, around legal advice, around accounting advice, you've got to make sure you have the right structures in place, is absolutely crucial. Here's a more detailed story about what happened to, what was a family in South Auckland. So daughter-in-law and the mother go into the lotto store. Mother wins ticket. Daughter-in-law goes, you're really flustered. Don't put it in your bank account. Put it in my bank account because you can't remember yours at the moment. What happens? Daughter-in-law and son then take the money, go buy a house in South Auckland. The mother-in-law obviously calms down from her, being flustered and goes, that money's mine. I'm going to take you to court. The son and the daughter-in-law trespass the mum from the house. Go, you come around here again, you're going to get arrested. She says, takes him to court. Court says, bugger it, we're just going to split this. Everyone gets 50%. It then gets appealed, and I think it's still going through court. So again, even if you don't blow it all, you are still going to break your family up with a large sum of cash. And that was only 250 grand.
So some pretty crazy stories. I think some like really key points and some learnings. The first thing I would say, if you win lotto, put the money to term deposit. Just put the money in term deposit, maybe leave a little bit of cash out, but you want to put some money into term deposit for maybe 6 months. So you've locked it up, you can plan, and you can't make any stupid decisions. You want to protect yourself, right?
Yeah, you want to come down off that high back to reality. And I think locking the money away for 6 months is a great way to do that.
The other thing is just, once again, get really good advice. And I would suggest boring. Boring is really, really good in this scenario. I would work out, one, where do you want to live? Second, what income do you need to be comfortable for the rest of your life? Putting that into a fund that pays you an income for the rest of your life, and you set it up almost that you cannot take out capital. You talk to lawyers about setting up the right structure so you just get income for the rest of your life. Because you've just got to remember, statistically, it is more likely you're going to end up bankrupt. I think also statistically, you're more likely to be murdered. So you don't want either of those things to happen to you.
Yeah, exactly. And if you're thinking about what type of income do I need to be set up for life, on $50 million a year, almost risk-free, you can get 2.5 mil. Don't tell me you can't live off that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's just, if you put 20 mil into a fund, you're easily getting $1 million a year in income tax, after tax.
Yeah.
And you're completely sorted. So please, for all the lotto winners out there, do not be a statistic. Make sure you talk to a financial advisor, an accountant, a lawyer. Put a really good plan in place, because God, you never forgive yourself if you blew the opportunity, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's about having a solid team around you in terms of your financial planning, your legal affairs, and your accounting structure. So even if you're not a lotto winner, make sure you've got a good team around you. It's going to do you well.
So I'm keen to hear once again in the comment section, if you won lotto, what would your plan be? Points for the craziest, and also love for those who are a little bit more sensible out there. Also, lots of love to Partners Life for sponsoring this episode. Please subscribe to the podcast on YouTube. Give us a like. Our reviews on Spotify and Apple, it'd mean a lot if you could give us some love there. Really help spread the message so we can talk to more people about crazy headline articles. We'll catch you next time.
Cheers.